today we are going to talk about all the books that I read in February, as well as the books I'm going to put on my March TBR. So let's get started. We're going to start off with a book series, and I started the first book in like the middle end-ish of January, and then I read the second two books in February, and that is the glorious Throne of Glass series. This series, it's an 8-book series. It's by Sarah J. Maas, who also wrote the ACOTAR series. I got these books for Christmas from Isaac. He got me the whole box set. I'm so happy. I read the first 3 books, or finished really the first 3 books in February. There's many different orders that you can read this series in. The 2 most common ways are either to start with Assassin's Blade and then read Throne of Glass and then read Crown of Midnight and then continue with the series. The other common way is to read Throne of Glass first and then Crown of Midnight and then Assassin's Blade and then continue the rest of the series. I chose to read Assassin's Blade first because this is the prequel. Like, there's 5 little novellas in it, and it just kind of gives us background about Selena, our main character's life, and how, like, what she had to go through before the events of Throne of Glass happened. So I read this one first. I would recommend reading this one first. It gives you a lot of background information, and it sets you up really well to go into Throne of Glass. Like I said, this one is 5 little novellas. Selena is our main character. She's an assassin. She's, living her life, going through different trials and tribulations and all of that. It's really good. I rated this one a 4-star. I enjoyed this one. And then I jumped into Throne of Glass. And this one, I rated like a 3-star, I think, 3.5 star. I did not like this one as much. It was still good. But it was kind of slow for me. Really, like, it was a lot of, just information. We meet a lot of characters in this one, and it wasn't until like the last 100 or so pages where it really, like, the action really took place. This one gives like a Hunger Games-esque. She's going through different trials to become King's assassin. And then I went and jumped into Crown of Midnight. I really enjoyed this one. I gave this one a 4.5 star as well. This one follows the events of Throne of Glass. And we're getting into the series now, so I don't want to give you too much information about this because it will spoil it. And of course, this is non-spoiler. Their romance is picked up just like a teeny tiny bit. I think there's like a love triangle thing going on. I'm not really sure. I also don't know what team I'm on. There's Selena, and then there's Dorian, and there's Kale. So I like them both right now, but they're both giving me like red flags too. So I don't know, like, that's where we're at right now. And I am currently reading the 4th one, Air of Fire, and I'm really enjoying this. This Crown of Midnight left off like on a big cliffhanger type thing, so I jumped right into this one, and I'm about, let's see where I am, chapter 60, about like 120 pages into it, so I'm enjoying this one. These ones took me like all month. I kind of like read a book, and then read some other little cute rom-coms, and I read another Throne of Glass book, and then I read some more books. So, like, I didn't read them all back to back. They're just kind of spread out throughout the month. I am so late to the game on this one. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know, like, everybody was reading this back in 2020, 2021, when BookTube and BookTok got big. This was, like, a big popular book. I finally got around to it. It was good. Like, I rated it a 3-star. Check your trigger warnings before you read this book because there's a lot of it going on. I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't my favorite. Again, 3-star for this one. I read Created to Dream by Rick Warren, and this one's like a churchy type book. I don't know how to describe it. It's the 6 phases God uses to grow in your faith. And I mean, I read this. It was like a part of our church. She did a sermon series on this book, so it was fun to follow along with her. If you're going through a big life change, I would recommend this book. It's fine. I did not rate this one because it is nonfiction, self-help, that type of thing. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I did not think that I would like this book at all. It was the book club pick from January for Sarah Caroli's book club, and I'm like, it wasn't like calling to me like some of the other books do, but I got it from my library. I gave it a try, and I adored this book. It is a fantasy romance. It is about Addie, and she makes a deal with a god, and she basically becomes invisible. Like, she's not like invisible like the sense where you put like an invisibility cloak on and no one can see you. It's more of the sense like she can go out and live life, but no one remembers her. So she's out living her life, and then one day she does meet someone who does remember her, so then the story picks up from there. It is dual timeline, so we get like present day Addie living her life in New York, and then we get past time Addie like going through from when she made that deal up until like when she goes to New York. I did like the present timeline better just because it was like the more romance heavy part of it, whereas the past was more like historical. But I ended up like, I rated this book at 4.5 stars. It was so good. It was so, the beginning was slow, but I knew that going in, so I could just kind of like vibe with it until it picked up a little bit. And then the ending was, it got me. I was sad. I would recommend this book. It was really good. After Addie LaRue, I ended up reading Bride, which was the book club pick for Sarah's book club for February. And again, this was one of those books where I'm like, I like Allie Hazelwood. I have all of her books somewhere down here. You can't see them. It's a paranormal romance, and I'm just not sure how I feel about paranormal romance. I'm like, you know, I might read it, I might not, but it ended up being the book club pick, so I'm like, I might as well. Again, I got that one from my library. It was about Misery and Lo. Misery is a vampire and Lo is a werewolf, so it was giving Twilight vibes. And I was a big Twilight girly back in middle school. It's an arranged marriage. They get married like the first chapter, and then Misery goes to live with the Wares, with Lo and all of that. So it just kind of goes through their life. The romance part of it wasn't very there. Like, it was there, but it was kind of like a little bit of insta-lovey. It was a lot of politics, like it was very politics heavy at the beginning. She was trying to learn like the vampire side of everything, the werewolf side of everything, the human side of everything, how it all connects. And it was a lot of information, and I did feel like the first like 100 or so pages I was confused, but then once I got past the initial confusion, it got better, and I enjoyed this book. I ended up rating it a 4-star. Like I said, Misery and Lo get married, and Lo actually has like a younger sister named Anna, and she and Misery had a great relationship. I loved that. Like, I loved Anna so much. There's also like a mystery subplot with Misery's best friend Selena, and I enjoyed that subplot too. So like those little things combined made it good, but it wasn't my favorite Allie Hazelwood book, but I am glad I read it. Another library book I read was Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. And this was actually like the last Abby Jimenez book that I had yet to read. I am all caught up. I am ready for her new release. I am like so proud of myself. I felt so accomplished. But this one was about Vanessa and Adrian, and I rated this one a 3.5 star. It was good. It wasn't my favorite Abby Jimenez book, but just like all of Abby's other books, like there were bigger. You good? Cece's walking back and forth. I don't know if you can hear her. But like I was saying, just like all of Abby's other books, there was like bigger underlying topics, and then the romance was on top of that. So I really did enjoy that part. So Vanessa has a terminal illness, and she is also taking care of her stepsister's baby, and she moves in to the little apartment right next door to Adrian, and they meet, they become friends, they become more than friends, and just I liked the relationship. It was really good. And then I did enjoy this because of the third act conflict. I felt like it could be something that could happen in real life. So that was really nice, and not just some miscommunication trope going on. It was good. I did rate this. It went a 3.5 star, and there was no spice in this book. The next book I read was How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. This one I adored. I loved this book. This was my first Catherine Center book I've read, and I have 2 of her other books, and I'm so excited to read more of her. This one is about Margaret, and Margaret is terrified of flying, and in the first, like, this isn't a spoiler because it says on the back, I think, and it happens in the first couple chapters, but she and her fiance, who is a pilot, go on a nice little private jet ride, and storm comes in, plane crashes, she goes to the hospital. So she's trying to then figure out what happened, what she needs to do next in life, what she's doing next in her relationship, and then comes in her physical trainer, PT, physical therapist, that's what it's called, Ian, and he just brings, he's grumpy. He's grumpy. It's great. I love a grumpy man. I don't like a mean man, but I like a grumpy man. I rated this one a 4.5 star. I'm still thinking about this book. It was so good. I'm so glad that I picked this up in the month of February. So since it was February, it was Black History Month. So I decided I was gonna try and read some books by authors of color. And I want to say I do a okay job of just sticking these in like randomly throughout the year, but I knew in February I wanted to get at least 2 in, and I did. The first one is called Bet On It, and it's by Jody Slaughter. Janaea let me borrow this, and the way that I wanted to know I wanted to read this was it was a spicy bingo book, and yes, it is a spicy bingo book. I'm gonna leave you with that. It's about Aja and Walker. I didn't write much down because honestly this was just kind of okay. I rated it a 3 star. There was spice in it. Like I said, it's spicy bingo. He has anxiety. She is going to bingo. He has to move back to the small town to take care of his grandma, and they meet at bingo, and then they spark a friendship, and that turns into more. I didn't connect to their romance. It didn't feel meaningful to me, so that's why I don't remember much of this book. But it was, if you're looking for like a light, cheesy, cute like romance, then I would recommend it. If you're looking for something more meaningful, then skip this one. Then the other book by a Black author I read was Drunk on Love by Jasmine Guillory. And this, again, just like Abby Jimenez, was the last book by Jasmine that I had yet to read. And it has been sitting on my shelf for over a year. And I did not get to it last year. And I finally got to it this year. It was so good. I rated this one a 4 star. It's about Margot, and she co-owns a winery with her brother, Elliot. She's off like on a business trip. Elliot hires a new employee that they've been looking for. She goes to her best friend's bar that night, meets a man, has a one-night stand. Turns out that that person she had a one-night stand with is the newest employee. So that's how it starts. It's good, and then it goes through kind of how they deal with that, kind of how like everything goes on. It's good. I enjoyed this one. I rated this a 4 star. Then I read The Rewind by Alison Wynne Scotch, and I had such high hopes for this book. Reading the back, it gave me second chance romance. It gave me like then and now perspective. It gave me dual POV. It gave me like Love in Other Words vibes going on, because Frankie and Ezra met in college. They had a whirlwind of a romance. They broke up. Then 10 years later, they're back at that college for their friend's wedding. And I was so excited because I'm like, it's going to be second chance. It's going to be friends to lovers. It's going to be great. And I ended up not enjoying this book. It was just all over the place. Like, it was supposed to be, like I said, it was dual POV and dual timeline, which seems like a lot. It wasn't written well. It was written like all over the place, and I couldn't connect to the romance, and I didn't enjoy it. I rated this one a 2 star. I would not recommend this. I didn't like it, which makes me sad because I really wanted to like it. The last book that I read in February was The Good Part. Yes, The Good Part by Sophie Cousins, and Jalen actually let me borrow this book. This one was cute. This one is about Lucy, and she's living her life. She's like early 20s, mid 20s, somewhere in there. And you know how life is in your mid 20s. Like, you have a crappy job, you have a crappy apartment, you have crappy relationships, all that. And she's just like, I want to skip. She goes to this wishing machine and she's like, I want to skip to the good part of my life. And the next day she wakes up in some strange man's bed with some strange kids walking around in a strange house. And so she figures out that, this is actually her life. This is her husband, these are her kids, and it just kind of goes through her journey of like, does she want to stay here? Does she want to go back? All of that type thing. It was good. I rated this one a 3 star. I would recommend this. It was cute. It was light. It was fluffy. It was an easy read. I really enjoyed this. And it's short too. It's like a little over 300 pages. It was really good. I enjoyed this. Those were all the books we read in February. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 books already in February. Now, let's get on to our MarchTBR. That's good. I started making my own chai. And I use like the chai and the milk, the concentrate and the milk and vanilla creamer, and it's so good. It's better than Starbucks. Just like last month, we have our basket of our prompts. We're going to pick 6 prompts. I'm going to go find books that match those prompts, and then we'll talk about them. So, I'm so excited. It is March 6th, I think. And I've like been waiting since like the end of February because everybody else put out their March TBR videos and I watched them all and I loved them and I really wanted to do this. I'm so excited that it's finally time and I get my TBR. All right, 6 prompts. Ready? First prompt is, before we start, I did end up putting the 6 prompts I used last month back in the basket, so if we get a repeat, that's fine. I think I'm going to start taking them out and then replenishing them every so often, just so we get some more variety going on. But for now, it's over, it's fine. So, 6 prompts. Let's do this now. First prompt, we have it. It is a person of color author. That would have been good for February. I think I have some more. If not, I'll get some to the library. Person of color author. Our next one is starts with L. All right, that'll be fun. I think I have options for that one. Oh, yeah, I do. We'll talk about this. Our next one, this is prompt number 3, is animal companion. Okay, so it has to have an animal in the book. I think I know what book I'm going to pick for that one, and I'm so excited for it. I think. Oh no, I could do something else. I think I have options for that one too. All right, let's switch these up. We did 3, we have 3 more. This is fun. Our next one is a new release. Okay, let's see. We'll have to do some research and see what books come out in March. But I don't want to buy books. We'll see. We'll see on that one. All right, 2 more. Our next one is a green cover. Oh, that works for St. Patrick's Day, for March. I can read a green cover. Look at that. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do 1 more. 1 more. Our last one is going to be, starts with a D. All right, so we have starts with L and starts with a D. Hey, my initials. I think that's what I put in here. I didn't put every letter. I think I put like L-I-D. Some B maybe, I don't know. So those are our 6 prompts. I'm gonna go get some books. I will be back and we will talk about those books here in a minute. I've gone through all my bookshelves and I have found some books that match our prompts. So the first one was a new release and I went through Goodreads and I looked up for like March new releases and I didn't see anything that I was like really dying to buy or to read. And I'm like not on a book buying ban, but I'm like not buying books right now, unless I really, really want them. But I did pick up Good Material by Dolly Allerton from the library a couple weeks ago, or last week, I don't even know. Last time to the library. And I know this came out recently. I think it came out like the end of February, so we're gonna count it. This is a literary fiction. I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I just know like everybody has been reading it and I want to read it too. And I saw it, I'm like, I'll pick it up. This is my new release. All right, the next one we have starts with a D. And I could only find 1 book on my shelf that starts with a D. And I need to read this because it's another one that's been out. It was popular a long time ago and I'm so late to the game, but it is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I read One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid over a year ago, like the end of 2022. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was a 5-star for me. And I picked up a lot of her books and I just never read them. And so now I'm going to read Daisy Jones. And there is a TV show about this and I've heard it's good, so I'm excited to read the book and then watch the show. And I'm excited. If you don't know what this is about, it's Daisy Jones is like a singer. She has a band and it's set in like the 1970s, 1980s, somewhere in there. And it's written in like podcast style, like interview. It's written in interview style, so it's all like, you know, Karen, blah, 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 Daisy, blah, 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 Billy, blah, 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 Graham, blah, blah, blah. So I'm excited to read this. I'm hoping that it'll go by quickly because it is written that way and it's like mostly dialogue. So I'm excited to read this. I'm excited to see what the hype is all about. Then we had a book with an animal companion and I'm strictly like going off of covers right now because I don't exactly know, what books have animals in them. But there's a book that I've been so excited to read. I'm so excited to read this. It is Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score. And if you can see, there is a dog right there. So, animal companion. I'm assuming since there's a big dog on the cover that there's gonna be a dog in the story. I love Lucy Score and I love her slow burns. I love her small towns. I'm so excited. I haven't read a Lucy Score in a while. So, and this one's like, it's not thick like her other ones. It's shorter. So I'm hoping that we can get through this one fast. All right, next book on my TBR, our prompt was starts with an L. And I have two options for this one. They're both by Ali Hazelwood, which I'm excited about. The first one we have Love on the Brain, and the second one is Love Theoretically. This one came out a couple years ago, like around the time of Love Hypothesis, which I read Love Hypothesis last year and I loved it. I've heard not the best things about this one, but I've heard phenomenal things about Love Theoretically, so I think I'm going to put Love Theoretically on my March TBR, and we're gonna get to this one. And our next prompt was a green cover, and I have a couple options for this one as well. I don't know what I'm gonna pick right now. I think I know what I'm gonna pick. I don't know. All right, I'll tell you our options. Our first option is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Again, I've had this for years and I haven't picked it up yet. I actually have the whole trilogy, so I really do need to get to this one. This is a young adult mystery book. Then the other one that has partially green cover is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This one is literary fiction. It's short. I think Isaac got this for Christmas. I think I'm gonna go with The Inheritance Games and start this series because I already have good material on my TBR and I don't know if I want two literary fictions that are like the same style-ish. So I think we're gonna put The Inheritance Games on my TBR and start this trilogy and see where that journey takes us. All right, and then our last prompt was a person of color author. And again, I have two options for this one. I have Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joria Goffney. And I have The Dating Playbook by Ara Roshan. I believe this one though is like the second in interconnected standalone, and I don't really want to start, the second before I read the first, and I don't really want to put two books for one prompt on my TBR because that's just too much. It's too much. So I think we're gonna go with Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. This one I think is a young adult, so it should be a fast, easy read. I am excited for this one. I think it's just like a coming of age young adult book. Should be easy peasy. We have our wrapped book. So if you are new, if you don't remember, besties Jalen and Janaea for Christmas last year got me books and they wrapped them and they're beautiful. Like, look at this. Just look at how gorgeous this is. But they wrapped a book for each month, and so now we get to open our March book. And remember, it is March 6th, and look, it's still wrapped, so I win. They all thought that I would, tear through these and not wait. But I'm waiting. Let's open it. Ooh, I'm excited. All right, the book that they got me for March. The book they got me for March is The Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the third book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. They got me the first book in January, The Fine Print, which I loved. I rated it like 4.5 star. Then Terms and Conditions for February, which I'm reading right now. And I'm almost done. I'm like 70% through it, I think. And then this is the third one, The Final Offer. This is about Cal and Alana. And I'm excited. This one's thick though. Like, do you see how thick this is? So we'll see if I get to this one in March as well. Those are all, I'm not picking those up, the books that I read in February as well as my March TBR. I enjoyed filming this. I enjoyed talking about all the books that I read, giving you guys recs, doing all that, and I enjoy picking our TBR like this. And this is fun. I actually, if you watched my last TBR for February, I read all of the books except for 2, so I'm pretty proud of that. So I'm hoping that we can get through at least a good chunk of these in March. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and I hope that you keep reading because I know I am. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.